A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark, chapter 6, verses 34 to 44. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. When Jesus arrived, he saw this huge crowd. At the sight of them, his heart broke. Like sheep with no shepherd they were. He went right to work teaching them. When his disciples thought this had gone long enough, it was now quite late in the day, they interrupted. "We are a long way out in the country, and it's very late. Pronounce a benediction and send these folks off so that they can get some supper." Jesus said, "You do it. Fix supper for them." They replied, "Are you serious? You want us to go spend a fortune on food for their supper?" But he was quite serious. "How many loaves of bread do you have? Take an inventory." That didn't take long. 5, they said, plus 2 fish. Jesus got them all sit down in groups of 50 or 100. They looked like a patchwork quilt of wildflowers spread out on the green grass. He took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, lifted his face to heaven and prayed, blessed, broke, and gave the bread to the disciples. And the disciples in turn gave it to the people. He did the same with the fish. They all ate their fill. The disciples gathered 12 baskets of leftovers. More than 5,000 were at the supper. The Gospel of the Lord. Reflections on the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 6, verses 34 to 44. Little is much when God is in it. Jesus performs a miracle because of his love and compassion for those who come to listen to him. They came in thousands from all the surrounding regions in search of his preaching and healing. Perhaps more for healing. They stayed back with him, listening to him. Looking at the huge crowd pressing for his words of comfort and healing, Jesus is moved with pity. His action in feeding the 5,000, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. These are the very same actions that Jesus used at the Last Supper when he took the bread, blessed it and broke it and gave it to his disciples. The whole life of Jesus is in fact a repetition of what he does at the multiplication of the bread. He took on the human form, the human flesh, was baptized in the Holy Spirit, suffered and gave his life for us. The multitudes are being fed on his body and blood now. And he does the same with our lives too. He takes us as we are, imperfect, sinful, and selfish. He blesses us while we are still sinners in spite of our imperfections and self-centeredness. He holds us in his love and compassion, together with all our brokenness and sufferings. And when we respond to his love, he gives us to others to witness his love and forgiveness. That is quite a mission. This act of surrender that Jesus asks of us in remembrance of him, this act of love, of giving, of sharing, helping, is not easy. It is often not appreciated, but it is what we are asked to do as Christians. We are to bring Christ to others as witnesses to his kingdom of love. Sharing loaves to the hungry may sound a cliche for others, but for the starved, it's a miracle. Sharing loaves doesn't limit to it literally. Today, time is the most precious commodity in the market. When we decide to share a part of our time to be of help for someone in need, in despair, to comfort them, we are sharing our loaves of bread to them. Calling up a relative or a friend and asking them of their well-being is also sharing our bread for the hungry. Being kind to the people who seem to be a nuisance is also sharing our loaves. More so, forgiving ourselves, from our past mistakes and sins is also sharing God's living bread. From all the miracles we received every day and every moment, may we also be God's face in sharing what our brothers and sisters need in their struggles as well.